We now look ahead, Brian Campbell. This upcoming weekend, UFC 240 is going to happen. It will be a lot of things. Although the card itself, not the greatest.
Not deep at all.
But the main event, Max Holloway taking on Frankie Edgar. I spoke to Max this week. Have you talked to either of the main event competitors yet? Yeah, I spoke to Max last week and appeared to be in pretty good spirits about the whole thing. I asked him about the damage he took against Poirier, because if you go back to that night in Atlanta, it was Poirier, Holloway, Adesanya, Gastelum. Poirier arguably took more damage than the rest of them, although maybe not so much as Adesanya and Gastelum, but still comparable amounts. He's the first one back. It's kind of interesting.
Holloway.
Holloway is the first one back. And he's the first one back, and he's down now a weight class than he was in that 155 amount. And I was like, aren't you sell me on the concern there? And he just claims that he has really good recovery. And
well, we know him enough to know that there's zero concern in any situation.
Okay, fair enough. But the question is what that will mean competitively. Bit of a different one. I want to start here with this one. I was like, what is really the value in an Edgar win? Because Edgar, the controversy here, as you well know, was why is Edgar getting this title shot when meritocratically it's probably not the guy who should get it? And the answer was, hey man, Edgar's 37, he's got some name value, he's available. There's lots of reasons why people get picked to get in title fights in MMA or boxing, one of which is who's around, who has a name. He has both of those. So they put him in there. The value, insofar as I can tell, is Max Holloway is looking to build a resume. And they all are, but he's really looking to say not super manicured, but who are the biggest fish I can fry each time? The Ortega fight was valuable, not because he had a super name value, but because he was super hot as a prospect, and he got shut out in the way that he did. It really told us a lot. Beating Jose Aldo back-to-back, stopping him both times in the 4th minute of the 3rd round, just told us a lot. I don't think beating Edgar at this stage, while still a very capable talent, and by the way, you never know, Edgar has surprised us. Everyone's like, from New Jersey, is watching, be like, you're counting Edgar out. Okay, but the reality is, this is not 30-year-old Edgar, this is 37. Still, he could win. You never know.
Well, can we cut to the chase of what this fight really is? Can we slice it right down the middle?
It's about Max Holloway adding a name to his resume that truly would be, that the scalp of all scalps.
It has nothing to do with that.
The Aldo scalp is valuable. This scalp is him being able to cobble together the kind of thing to say, look at the who's who on here. Because if you gave him...
That's creative. You should actually write it. You should be writing the program for UFC.
If they gave him, who else was the top featherweight? If they gave him Josh Emmett. If they gave him, he already lost, but Mirsad Bektic.
Okay, but do you know why they're not giving him a Josh Emmett? Because it wouldn't sell.
Right.
And they're giving you a thin card that they need 2 names that you know on top to sell.
You mean to tell me that if this fight was over and he beat Josh Emmett the same way and he beat Frankie Edgar the same way, I'm not disputing that the sales will be different. You mean to tell me that the narrative after the fight would be the same? That is complete nonsense. It would absolutely be different. However much you don't buy into it, we know our media brethren, they're mostly donks, they're nice guys too as well. They're going to tell the world this was beating a featherweight legend, a stalwart, a centerpiece.
Okay, I'm not saying that Edgar's not an MMA legend. I'm not saying that people will say that afterwards and it's wrong. It's not, but that's not what this fight is. This is a get-well fight for Max Holloway. It is, and there are no get-well fights in the UFC, and there certainly aren't any on the title level. But you know, I have had this debate when this fight first came out. That is a
jaundiced view of the world.
And this is a get-well fight because the UFC allowed Max to take a chance that, to be honest with you, wasn't necessary. That lightweight division is so stinking deep, and they took that chance for marketing purposes. Maybe they thought he'd be healthier at that weight. We learned, at least against an elite puncher like Poirier, that Max may not have the firepower to beat those very elites. I know he still says he wants another chance. If he trained his body and moved up and did it the right way, maybe.
We'll see.
What we learned from this is UFC looked at the landscape and said, what's kind of a soft-ish touch, but one that we can still spin, one that will move tickets. That's probably going to be a thin card. We're going to Edmonton. We're not rolling out our own red carpet here. This is an in-between pay-per-view, a classic in-between pay-per-view. I think UFC found out in that Poirier fight that the Max 155 experiment may not be the best move, so let's polish him up at 45 again.
Okay, I'm not... it's not that I'm disputing those things as true. I just don't think those things are principally what this is ultimately about. Yes, there's availability here, and Max was like, I just told the UFC I wanted to fight in the summer, and they put me here. So he wants to stay in rotation. They're trying to find the names in rotation. But I guess I'm just trying to sort of understand. You fundamentally don't believe that this qualitatively improves his resume. Here's what I mean. You get to a certain point in your career where you lose. Let's use an extreme example like BJ Penn. Beating BJ Penn no longer has the same value. I think that's true. But even Ryan Hall got some value out of that. Now, he submitted him, which was the twist there. But it takes a long time for you to lose, such that the value in beating you has been diminished.
I know what you're saying.
He is coming off of a win. If you beat Frankie Edgar now, whether he deserved a title shot or not, it qualitatively improves his resume.
You're asking me, does it do nothing to improve? Of course, because Frankie Edgar's not done. He's also not necessarily deserving of this title shot, so he's sort of in the middle. It's an active enough name where it's a legendary name. Of course it improves it. I'm just saying that's not the story here. That's not the narrative here. This is about Max getting his mojo back. This is about Max reestablishing himself. Okay, that loss happened. I took a chance. That's over with. Let's get back down to business at 45. I know I got some names that are kind of figuring it out who's next. In the meantime, let's sell a few tickets with Frankie. I'll look great doing it. I think the one thing we're not talking about here is what do we do with Frankie's legacy if he wins this fight?
Oh, I would say it transforms it. I mean,
It transforms it by a lot.
Because
yes.
because he beat the guy that beat him. So Aldo beat him twice. Second time UFC 200 quite badly. Edgar stopped him. So sorry, what am I saying? Holloway stopped him twice and then beat Ortega, the other guy that stopped Frankie Edgar. So to go back and beat that dude, it would show you that number one, we already know this, but MMA math is garbage, but also that Frankie Edgar, like we always kind of knew, I would be guilty in selling him short, and also on the right night, even at 37 years old, he's still capable enough of doing great things. It would also tell me, though, that Max came back too quickly. I still have concerns.
But you agree there's a difference between being a legend, which Frankie is now, and an all-time great, which I think if Frankie became a two-division champion and beat a prime Max Holloway, or a somewhat prime if you're going to, then you're kind of an all-time great now by default, right? I know, look, if Holly Holm had beaten Duran to me, she would have been a two-division champion too and didn't deserve that shot. So there are sort of qualifiers, but I mean,
let's see if it's a lucky shot. No, if he goes in there and just audits him, then yeah, you'd have to have that conversation.